Wiki wacky, wiki whack. Marlowe paints while Conrad, Dickens, Proust, and Joyce rattle in his head, rattling loudest, Oscar Wilde. A man who calls a spade deserves to use one. Which smacked of practicality to Marlowe. His instinct in art. Elude the practical, as his Myers-Briggs test would confirm. Constantly caught between a hard place and a rock, Marlowe is deft at navigating a soft place to rest his head. He rests. He has traveled with Sinbad the sailor, and Tinbad the tailor, and Jinbad the jailer, and Windbad the whaler, and Ninbad the nailer, and with Shelley Berman. James Joyce and Marcel Proust were introduced in Paris. There was no chemistry. It was a bad day. They had nothing to say to each other. But when James Joyce met Shelley Berman at Smarty's party, it was love. It was like Stephen Dedalus meeting Leopold Bloom. Recall Shelley's famous bit, James Joyce didn't write trees, Joyce Kilmer wrote trees. Turns out James Joyce loved the bit. Could even do a passable Shelley Berman imitation. Who knew? And that's what made Smarty's party so irresistible. Shelley Berman as Leopold Bloom? Yes. The comedian asked the novelist, "Is it true you often laughed out loud when you wrote?" Said Joyce, "Shelley, like the poet with the jelly on his belly, birds of a feather laugh together. Shake hands, brother, I'm a rogue and you're another." Midnight in Nighttown, all was whirling, twirling, all things were flowing. The rivers were purling and life was unfurling. Forward, woozy wobblers, forward. Marlowe painted. Instinct dictates our duty, and the intellect supplies us with pretexts for avoiding it. Excuses have no place in art. Intention counts for nothing. M. Proust. Notes in Marlowe's diary. Art as advertising, advertising as art, the business of art, artist as entrepreneur. What does Smarty have in mind for me and when? I've been building my efficiency, but to what purpose? To be or not to be, or shooby-dooby-doo. He painted. Mr. Kurtz, he did. He painted. Being pantheistic won't help your pancreas. There was madness in his method. The zeitgeist had imploded. The future was a knife fight. Bonga Corp was a multi-headed hydra. You couldn't chop the heads off fast enough. Heads were piling up, as was the negligent damage. Low down in Tiki Town, it was jumping. Smitten brokered the art. Bunny and Bester the beer, and the wiki grew the herb. It all went into staging a new show, and even though Smarty knew how to squeeze a budget and never chinced on imagination, the scale of the enterprise was massive. Bunny and Bester and Art Smitten were making art for the ages, and they had a lot of mouths to feed. The artist must go where the artist must go? Sure. But last time out, Marlowe witnessed Smarty flying a monocopter, filming the painted walls of Club Bonga being loaded onto ships for Croatia or wherever the nefarious art investors of the future lived, in exchange for suitcases of cash. An unsavory, dangerous business. Smarty liked to hold up his clean hands, but Smarty was no innocent. And once again, Smarty was about to enter the lion's den. A performance Marlowe, against all reason, did not want to miss. At the latest manifestation of Club Bonga, on stage, Mr. Boots meets Buddha behind the house. Buddha is a mouse. Mr. Boots pounces. "Chewed up, spit out," says Buddha. Says Mr. Boots, "All is light." Music. Enter the grand procession after the style of the Lord Mayor's show. A wheelbarrow is painted emerald green, white, and gold. Meat for the cat. 6 milkmaids, 2 by 2, enter to bring milk for the cat. Bearers with white wands carry a crimson cushion with a handsome collar for the cat. A large china cream jug on a silver salver is labeled "Cream for the Cat." Attendants with lighted candles announce lights for the cat. Mr. Boots, as Whittington Cat, enters magnificently, followed by servants with rat-shaped heads, powdered wigs, cocked hats, and tails trailing on the ground. News hawkers enter. Rat news, read all about it. Says anonymous source, a cat would be crazy to eat us, poison as we are. Second hawker says, more hairballs found. Whittington Cat out on bond stokes fear in the rodent community. Images seeped in. Marlowe was in Bonga Bonga, and then he was not, hovering between two worlds, waiting for marching orders from Smarty. And waiting. The good news, he learned he could rent golf clubs there. He'd been itching to get around in at the Royal Bonga. And even during short stays on the other side, Marlowe absorbed copious information. Whispers on the wharf. It was like a hallucination. Design, fashion, theater. That could happen in a back alley. A spectacle of humongous proportion and experience. No two nights alike. More real than real, even when the coachman turned into mice at dawn. Smarty was all the buzz. Smitten vision. Marlowe knew. At bottom, it was always the vision, the idea. You've got to see it to make it. How did Andy Warhol think of the soup can? Did he see it in a 1911 Vogue magazine bought at an antique store? All the other companies in the moldy yellow magazine were long out of business. But Campbell's showcased a full-page bleed that looked very modern. A Warhol archivist found the page, marked with a torn piece of brown paper. Painting soup cans was not obvious until it was obvious, and not even then until Irving Blum persuaded Warhol to think of the original 32 paintings as a single idea. And what about Art Smitten? Love? Dopey, but could he have tumbled on it and thought about an entire product line in the same thought? What is that special magic in art that incites you to make art? How did Federico Fellini make it so dreamy? How did Jean-Luc Godard make it so seductive? How did Robert Rauschenberg think of combines and have the nerve to hang a rooster on one? Was it preordained that a stuffed goat bought in a second-hand store would become monogram? And who was Annie Finch? A mystery, Marlowe, a deep mystery. What does it mean when one door closes and another door doesn't open? What does it mean when the clock strikes 13? What does it mean, gone the money? What to do when the table tilts and the wheels wobble, and woe to the last honest man? Double speak, yakety yak, and duck speak, quackety quack. What I said last week I meant. This week I say the reverse, call me consistent. I take what I can, however I can, and you would too, if you could. Go ahead, deny. Think you're better. You don't scare me with your integrity. You're a rat too. We're all rats now. Cock-a-doodle-doo, crowed the rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Duchamp, Duchamp, Duchamp. Enough Duchamp, crowed the rooster. It is one thing to admire the found object, the surrealist object. It is another thing to be deemed as such. A sore point with the rooster. Rooster clucked until they cut out his tongue. Quiet on the set. This November, last year, or was it 4? Rooster faces camera, a sign. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Buddy, can you spare a buck? The rooster was a gift from Smitten. That last day in Brooklyn, the value of nothing shoot. Art took the can of Merde d'Artist from Marlowe and showed him a small double-sided plastic nose hanging on a hook. On the back, the initial CO, a maquette for a Klaus Oldenburg sculpture. And then, handing Marlowe the rooster, Smarty said, Meet Rauschenberg's rooster. He'll talk when he knows you. I didn't cut out his tongue. Marlowe had no reason to doubt, other than the fake Manzoni number 091.